good evening and welcome to night 3 of the DJ and TV Virtual DJ Expo. 3 nights, great content, and tonight we're going to ratchet it up a notch or 6 with the one and only Alan Berg. Good evening, Alan.
Good evening, John. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. Thank you for coming on and being with me tonight.
My pleasure.
This is always one of the highlights when we get a chance to sit down and talk a little bit about business and shop and different things like that, because you've got such a variety of experiences and knowledge within the wedding industry. For the people who maybe are getting to meet you for the first time tonight, kind of give it that little elevator speech of who Alan Berg is.
The short story is I've been in the industry a long time, mostly on the media side. So I started selling wedding advertising in wedding magazines, and then I actually published 2 wedding magazines, my wife and I. And then I worked for a little company called The Knot, which I'm sure most people here are familiar with The Knot. I was many things there, including vice president of sales operations, and many people in the industry got to know me because I was the main business speaker. So if it was at the Las Vegas DJ show or at Mobile Beat or Wedding MBA or any of those conferences, local or national, chances are if The Knot sends somebody to speak, it was going to be me, unless you cared about the trends. If you wanted the colors and things like that, you had an editor, but otherwise it was me. And that's where most people got to know me. I was there from 2000 till 2011, and that's when I untied the knot. That's on mine.
I see what you did there.
Like that. It was funnier when Wedding Wire and The Knot weren't combined, because it was like now I was consulting for Wedding Wire. So since 2012, actually, I've been consulting for Wedding Wire and doing sales training and speaking as an education expert for them. And now that Wedding Wire and The Knot have combined, I do that for both of them. But I also have my own business as a speaker, as a sales trainer, as a business consultant. I'm an author. I've written 5 books. I've spoken in 14 countries. He presentado en 5 países en español. I've presented in 5 countries in Spanish, which since I left The Knot, I taught myself Spanish. So I didn't know Spanish in 2011, and starting in 2013, I did. And I travel around the country and around the world, and I do remote consultations with DJs and venues and photographers. And I consult to websites like Wedding Wire and The Knot in Ireland, England, Dubai, India, Australia. And other than recently, most of the time you'll find me on a plane flying to a conference, and I'll be home for a little bit now, but we'll be back to doing that soon.
Yeah, very shortly you'll be back going around. You got an incredible schedule that as I follow you on social media, it's like, goodness, does this gentleman ever get a chance to stay home?
Well, my Facebook life is exciting. I was in Australia last year, and I posted a picture of myself probably at the Sydney Opera House or something like that. And somebody commented, they said, "I want your life." I said, "No, you want my Facebook life."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I just flew 6 hours to get to San Francisco, had a 5-hour layover, and then got on a 15-hour flight. Is that what you want?
Yeah. And then when you get there, it's like, okay, we walk in and we get to the hotel and we're completely shot, and then there's
one day,
yeah.
I left Friday night, San Francisco at 11 o'clock. And I got in Sunday morning. Saturday just disappeared. And then the funny thing is, coming back, I left at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I got into San Francisco at 7:30 in the morning the same day. I literally time traveled.
You moved ahead in time. The DeLorean was ready to roll, and you took it.
You know what? Yeah, it's funny. I couldn't even put it in my calendar, because you can't put an end date before the start date. So it just wouldn't allow me to do it. It was really weird. So what I've had the privilege of doing is working with DJs and other people in the wedding and event industry very close up, because, starting back in the days when I was selling advertising, I would go to people's offices, which very often were in their home and at their kitchen table and their garage and in their basement, and at McDonald's and at Starbucks, and we would talk about your business and talk about how we can bring you more business and profit more, and that's what I do. My goal is to help the creative people in our industry have a better business, because unfortunately the barrier to entry in our industry is very low.
Right.
Fortunately, the barrier to entry in our industry is very low, right? And I say unfortunately because you have a new competitor every moment, but it really allowed most people that we know, if not everybody in this industry, to get into the industry. Your barrier to entry was, like right now, I could go to Guitar Center, take out my credit card and I could buy equipment and I could say, I am a DJ.
Correct.
There's nobody to stop me. There's no license required. But that same thing allowed most people in this industry to start their business on a shoestring. So it's not a problem that that happens. It's actually good. It's only a problem if you don't treat it like a business. It's only a problem if you don't treat yourself like a professional and say, I need training. I need the things that I don't have. I know what I don't know, and I'm going to go get that help. And that's, again, kudos to you, John, because this is what you do, is you give this access. You become this conduit for people like me to be accessible to people who are listening, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And 3 nights of this with so many different people. You talk about my schedule being exhausting. your schedule there, you have permanent indents in your seat, I think.
I think so. Yeah, you could tell as the day start getting a little more squirmy on it. I've done better tonight with my scheduling, so I won't be quite as bad.
Okay.
But yeah.
And I'm prepared for mine. So anybody who's joining me, this is a little bit of this is called Redwood Empire. It's a bourbon and rye mix. So salud, sláinte, to everyone's health, everyone who is ailing these days. There you go. Salud.
So let's kind of jump into tonight. Let's dig into the whole sales process just a little bit, because there's a lot of people who are going to be receiving inquiries and different things. This is the time where people who are home are searching. So it's time to really kind of ramp up that sales knowledge process.
Right. And, any business, it breaks down to this. So I do sales training. There's my logo in the middle, your personal sales trainer. So I'm alanberg.com. That's my website. Bottom left corner is the logo there. But when I do sales training, I realize that I am your personal sales trainer, right? But businesses in our industry, very few, if any of them, can have a sales trainer on staff. So I act as your personal sales trainer. And I break it down no matter what you do, whether you are DJ only, or DJ photo booth lighting, go down the line, decorating, all the other things you could do. And you could be a venue, you could be a photographer, you could be a dog trainer, right? It doesn't matter. It's going to break down to 4 things. I call it the sales circuit, like circuit training. You have to get their attention. If they don't know you exist, nothing is going to happen after that. Then you have to get the inquiry. Then once they make the inquiry, you have to have a good conversation. And then you need to close the sale. And this happens for every business. This happens for plumbers. This happens for electricians. This happens for doctors. This happens for everybody. So when it comes to getting people's attention, what are you doing to get someone's attention? Now, one of the challenges in the industry, because the barrier to entry is so low, is you have a lot of people who have not had experience in business, and investing in your business seems like an expense. So let's just break this down right now. There's a difference between an expense and an investment. An expense, by its nature, is not intended to bring you back anything more than what you paid for. So when you fill up your car with gas, that's an expense. And you're going to get your car to get you from here to there, or your truck to get you from here to there.
Right.
That's an expense. When you pay the electric bill, you flip the switch, the lights come on, you got what you paid for. Investments, by their nature, can, and I say can.
I picked that word up.
and the intention is that you are investing that money so that you will get back more than what you paid, right? So at least what you paid, but certainly more than what you paid for. So what I want to say here, and we like to talk straight here, you and I and the group. If you are looking for the cheap and free way, and you get very little results, you got what you paid for. If you want people to invest in your business, you have to invest first.
Right.
You have to show them that you are investing first. You have to show them that you are the type of business that invests in the quality, in the training, in the advertising, in the marketing, in the graphic design, in the professional website. Because if you want to catch the big fish, you're not going to catch them if you have your Popeil's pocket fisherman, rod, right? So you have to show them that.
I remember.
And if you think about, I'll give you an example. When Lexus first came out, Toyota came out with the Lexus division, and they're having this luxury division. They did not look at BMW, Mercedes, and Audi's showrooms and say, how should we design our showroom? They looked at Ritz-Carlton hotels and they said, where does our clientele shop? What does our clientele expect the experience to be? And they designed showrooms and the experience to be more like what those people were expecting, because it's called framing. We all have a point of reference, and our point of reference guides us to what the next point of reference is. So if you're going after someone who you want to spend more money, have you invested in professional graphic design? Have you invested in, excuse me, a professionally done website? Have you invested in private training and all the things that you need to do so when that person comes, they're going to get an experience like what they're accustomed to getting? I spoke at the CaterSource conference in Las Vegas last week, and I related a statement, not really even a question, that was posed to me when I spoke for the Knot in Salt Lake City last December. And right before I went on, Knot said, hey, listen, take a look at this app. There's an app that they can submit questions. And somebody submitted, I think it's more of a statement than a question, and they said, would you address this? We want you to address this. And what it said was, could somebody please tell couples that they should expect to spend for their wedding catering at least what they would spend in a restaurant for an appetizer, entree, and dessert? Now, that's a fair statement.
Sure,
that is an absolutely fair statement. So I started to answer one way, and I got about 30 seconds in, and I stopped. And I said, wait a second. Where do they eat? Right? Where do they eat? So what I did at CaterSource last week is I put that up there, and I said, is that a fair statement? Everybody's like, yeah, that's a fair statement. I said, okay, so where do they eat? And I put up a slide, and the first picture that came up was Chili's. And I took a picture from Chili's website of their 2 for $25 dinner. And you can have 2 appetizers, 2 entrees, and a shared dessert for $25. And if that's where they go to dinner, that's what they're going to expect to spend when they come for their wedding catering. And then I put up the Capitol Grill. I said, okay, Capitol Grill's signature steak is a $63 a la carte steak. And now your salad is extra, and now your vegetable is extra, and everything is extra. So if you're used to spending $100 a person, well, there's your benchmark. And then I put up the French Laundry, which is a restaurant in Napa, California, by Thomas Keller. And the least expensive dinner there is if you make a reservation, which is going to be 6 months to a year out if it's a Saturday night, and you prepay when you make the reservation, the cheap seats are $350 a person. If you have a group, hey, let's get our family together, we're going to be 8 of us, they'll put you in a little semi-private area, and that's $450 a person. And then maybe, John, if you want to join me in June, there's a special Australian winter truffles dinner, and it's $1,000 a person.
Oh, my goodness.
So what if that's your client?
Yeah.
Right? So your client's coming. And I did this thing also at CaterSource. It was 7 ways your website is costing you business. If someone comes to your website and leaves because they don't think you're a good fit, how much did that cost you? How much did that 1 gig cost you? What if that happens once a month? Now, what does that cost you? Is that $20,000 a year? Right? How much? And the answer is that not having the right website costs you more in lost business than a new website would cost you. There's a DJ here in New Jersey, Aldo Ryan. You might know Aldo.
Yep, know him very well, yes.
So Aldo, good friend, and Aldo called me up a couple of years ago, and he said his hair was on fire. Obviously not a problem for me, but his hair was on fire because he's got nice hair. And Aldo said he just lost a job. A high-end planner referred him a client. The client comes back to the planner and said, refer us someone else. And she said, no, he's your guy. He's fantastic. You're going to love him. I've used him before. He's wonderful. We don't like his website. Refer us someone else. Wow.
Yeah. Woofda.
So we're talking thousands of dollars. Poof. And that's the one he knows about. How many do you not know about? How many just leave, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about investment versus expense, it's easy to say, well, a new website will cost me $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, whatever, right? And believe me, it does not need to cost you $20,000, because I don't know anybody in our industry that needs a website that costs that much, because what you need isn't that custom. It's the content that'll be custom, but I use a standard WordPress template, and you fill it in with good content, and it's going to look great.
Yeah.
So if you think $3, $4, $5,000, but you could be losing $20,000 in business, the difference is you can't see the 20, but you can see the 3, 4, 5. That's the difference.
Sure.
And people take action faster to eliminate negatives than to get positives. So if somebody says, hey, John, we'll make you a new website, you'll get more business. Yeah, I know. Okay. John, you just lost $2,000 this month. What? Oh, and you lost $2,000 last month. What do you mean? And you've lost $2,000 every month for the past 12 months. You want that to stop quickly, right now.
Yeah.
So, investment versus expense. If you want new speakers because they're cool, that's an expense. If you need new speakers because your current speakers will not perform what you need to do for the job you need to do, that's an investment.
Interesting.
Because you're going to get your money back on that. And I'm okay either way. Listen, if you go to Mobile Beat, if you go to any of the shows and you see some equipment and you're like, oh man, that's a cool whatever, and you just want it, you can still buy it. Just don't fool us and tell us that was an investment unless you can make more money because of it, right? Now, there are things that will make our job easier. Doesn't mean it's necessarily an investment, but if it's saving you time, that could be then an investment. So
sure.
Let's talk about advertising, because I know there's a lot of talk. Because my background, again, I published wedding magazines. I was vice president at The Knot. I've consulted to Wedding Wire. And I know that Wedding Wire and The Knot and sites like that, people love to hate them, right? They love to hate them. You're spending money because you're expecting a return. Their job is very simple. How they do it is complicated, but their job is very simple. Their job is to get an audience. That is their job. They don't sell advertising. When I would hire a new sales rep at The Knot, I would fly them to Omaha, Nebraska, to the office out there, and I'd train them. And the first thing I would say to them is, you're not selling advertising. They'd be like, well, I took an advertising sales job. What do you mean I'm not selling advertising? Yeah. And I said, you're selling access to an audience that only exists here. Only here. Nowhere else. So if someone wants access to our audience, they have to pay for the ticket. Just like if I want you to be my DJ, I have to pay for the ticket, right? And by the way, you have a brand not because you have a logo. You have a brand when they want you and only you to be their DJ, MC, whatever it is, right? Because what you do is not unique. I mean, put it on paper, make a list, make a bullet point list of what you do as a DJ and MC, and any good DJ MC can fulfill that list. They will not be you. They will not do it your way, but they can fulfill the list, right?
Certainly.
Professional sound system, 100,000 songs, state of the art, all this kind of stuff. There's nothing unique about it on paper. What's unique is how you do it, right? Like, if you don't, Bill Herman, I remember having breakfast with Bill Herman one time. If you don't value what Bill Herman brings to the table, there's no reason you would pay for that. Just like
Certainly.
If you don't value what I bring, I'm going to speak at a conference and I'm going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 times more than any of the other speakers there. And if you can't tell the difference, you'll never hire me.
Yes.
But why am I busy is because you can tell the difference. And there is that, you can see that difference between me and other people. And the same thing with you. If you want them to pay your price, they have to want you because they need somebody. But when they want you, you have a brand because now they want you and only you. And that for a multi-op, that's, I want someone from your company, but then I also might want this person, right? So if I'm Mike Walter saying, okay, great, Mike, it's you, but if I want this DJ, or if I go to, Jason Janai's company and I say, okay, I want Tony T, right? I want Tony T, that's a brand because I want Tony, not just somebody from SCE. I want Tony T.
Specific, yeah.
Right. And that's what makes the difference there. So never buy the ad. Never buy a booth in a bridal show. Never buy an ad online or in a magazine or a billboard. Buy the audience that will see that, because that audience doesn't exist anywhere else. I had somebody contact me recently. They're a DJ, photo booth, video, photography. They do multiple services in multiple states. And their bill for Wedding Wire and The Knot was going to be over $100,000 for the year. Right?
Okay.
And I said, okay. And they said, can we talk to you about this? Because it seems like a lot. And it was really great because they reached out and they paid me for a consultation and said, hey, let's discuss this. We want to know, is this right or not? And I said, I'm not going to tell you whether the price is right. In other words, are they charging you the right rate? But let's talk about this. How much are you going to invest? And we came up with a number. And then how much of your sales is that? So their anticipated sales for the year was going to be like $1.75 million.
Sure.
$120,000 to invest to get 1.75 million is only about 7%.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
That's really quite good numbers.
Right. The difference is that there were more zeros.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So take somebody else with $175,000 in sales investing 12,000. It's the same 7%.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's the same 7%. My brother-in-law plays blackjack, and he plays at the $100 and $200 minimum table. Right. The odds are exactly the same as the $5 table. Right. And if I sit with him at the $100 table, it's to watch. And the reason it's to watch is because I'm not willing to make that investment. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I will not get the gain. Because if I hit, I would get the same gain that he would. I'm just not willing to put that money down. That's not my thing. That's not my idea of an investment, right? Mm-hmm. But the odds are exactly the same. So the difference with this company is that they added a zero.
Yeah.
That's all it is they added a zero. So what you have to think about is, do I want the audience that's coming to that wedding show? Do I want the audience that's going to see this website? And what I posed to them was, I said, let's say we took 50,000 of that and didn't give it to Wedding Wire and the Knot. Where are you going to put it? Because you're never going to get that audience. You're not going to get that audience somewhere else. You will get someone else's audience. Yeah. And some of those same people might be there, but you'll never get that audience. So have you tried Facebook ads? Yeah, we're already doing some of that. Google ads, yeah, we're already doing some of that. I said, and results? He said, yeah. I said, and if you threw another 50,000, do you think you could replace what you got over there? He said, no. I said, well, you have your answer then.
Yeah, very quick, yes.
You have your answer. And that's all they needed was for me to just kind of talk them through that and say, okay. I said, listen, I'm not telling you it's not hard to write that check.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But if you don't write that check, you don't get the 1.7 million.
So you mentioned, of course, that was a 7% roughly.
Yeah.
Is there a magic number when it comes to, for our businesses, where we, the amount we should be dedicating to advertising and such, or a percent, I should say?
It's a great question, and it's not an easy answer because every business is different. So let's start out. You're a brand new business, and you've been in business a year, 2 years, and you're growing your business. The general rule of thumb, and this is a very general rule of thumb, is that if you're trying to grow your business, you should be investing 10 to 15% or more of your anticipated revenue. Mm-hmm. Now, that's an important word there, anticipated revenue. So let's say you're doing $50,000 worth of business, but you want to do $150,000 worth of business. You have to invest 10 to 15% of the 150. Right? You want to get there.
Sure.
So not what you're doing, what you want to get there. Now, once you get there, you can back off. So the analogy I like to use is an airplane. So you're a brand new business and you're sitting on the tarmac in your airplane. Okay. And now you want to get that business off the ground. So what does the pilot do? The pilot puts on the thrusters all the way and starts barreling down the runway. And if you give it enough gas, you can get enough lift and get off the ground, right?
Sure.
But now you need to get to cruising altitude. So in order to get to cruising altitude, with a full load of gas and a full load of passengers and a full load of luggage, you have to keep that gas on. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Once you get to cruising altitude, the pilot will back off on the thrusters. Hopefully they won't turn them off.
It sometimes feels like it.
Well, that's what you call a glider, okay? So there's only one way to go when the engine is off, and that's down. And that metaphor works for your business. If you stop marketing and advertising once you get to cruising altitude, you're going to fall because somebody else is still on the gas. Somebody else is doing that. So brand new business, 10 to 15% or more of your anticipated revenue. And I was working with a DJ in Indianapolis. I've been working with him for a couple of years now. And he was doing part-time while he was in school. Mm-hmm. And when I started working with him, I said, so how much are you investing in advertising? And it was about $7,000 or $8,000 a year. And I was like, wow, you're only doing, more than a handful of jobs, but not that many more. I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot to be investing. And this was a kid at 21 years old at the time. And he said, Alan, I'm not investing for the business I have. I'm investing for the business I want to get.
Good.
And that's a lesson that people twice his age haven't learned, right? You invest for the business you want to get. And when I do marketing, I will target 100 to 150 venues or bigger businesses to do sales training. And I'll do a mailing piece and an email campaign, and I'll spend $10 to $15 a piece on a mailing piece. And I know that very few, if any, people in my industry or that do what I do are going to do that. But one sale from 150 pieces times $15 a piece, right? Whatever that comes out to, $22,000, whatever, $2,200 and change. One sale pays it back. Only if I do it. The opportunity cost of not doing it is the sales I don't get.
Yeah.
So I can save the $2,200, but then I don't have the business. I'm not in front of those people. They're not going to remember. You have to, again, get their attention is the first thing. So marketing, advertising, social media. Facebook, I like to, and I hate to use the same analogy, but Facebook was like the biggest crack dealer. Because Facebook gave us all free samples.
Yeah.
They gave it to us all for free. They said, here you go. It's all free. It's all free. Come on. Kids, come on over here to get the candy.
Yep.
Right?
And we were there.
And then pulled the rug out from under us. And now 6% of people, unless we pay, 6% of people see what we post. So if you want to get the attention of people that don't already follow you, you need to pay. Now, the good news is we have given up our personal freedoms to Facebook, so they know where we are, who we are, what our status is. So if you say, I want to target somebody who lives in this part of Ohio and has a status of engaged and likes this page, like The Knot or Wedding Wire, big targets like that, you can do that pretty easily. So again, you're still fighting the noise on Facebook, but you can put yourself into their feed because you do know that much about them. Because again, their job then is to give you that audience, just like Wedding Wire and The Knot's job is to give you that audience. And then local sites as well. Like I'm in New Jersey, a good friend, Eric Kent. Eric has njwedding.com. Eric's job is to get you his local audience. What Eric can do that Wedding Wire and The Knot can't is hyper local. He's at every wedding show and he's all those things that The Knot can't do and Wedding Wire can't do. And it's not an either or. If I was you and I lived in New Jersey, I would want to do both.
Certainly,
because here's the question I always say to my clients. What day of the week and what hour of the day do you want somebody looking in that particular place and you're not a choice? Right? Where do you want them opening the menu and you're not on the menu? Nowhere. You can't afford to be everywhere. So start with the place that has the most. Like let's say you and I were going to go fishing, right? Would we look for the place that was free to go fishing? Or would we pay for the permit because we're going to go on the lake that we know they stocked and, it's basically drop your line and catch a fish, right? It's there. So yeah, I can go free over here or I can go where I know I have better odds.
Yep, exactly.
Right, so do that. So that's getting their attention. The good news in our industry is that you don't have to do cold calling. Unless you're following up on wedding show leads or something like that, you're not cold calling.
Not so much.
You're putting yourself out there and you're hoping that somebody is going to raise their hand and say, I need what you're selling, right? Now, I started in the industry cold calling. Literally, I got in my Dodge Aries K car. Any of you that remember what that was? I was not high styling, no gangsta lean going on. Let's just say that.
not an Aries.
not on a Dodge Aries K. However, I did drive that car 30 to 33,000 miles a year for 3 years, and it made me a lot of money because it got me where I was going. So that was it. And I was driving around knocking on doors, just finding people and cold calling, making phone calls, and literally just walking into businesses and saying, hi, how can I help you? And this industry, by the time you know they're interested, they've already eliminated most of your competitors. So if you think about this, somebody right now, and this is a terrible time for us, but it could be actually a good time, because when people are working from home, the boss is not there to look over their shoulder to see that they're looking at wedding sites while they're at work. So you might have that little benefit there. So what you have then is, by the time you get the inquiry, they've eliminated most of your competitors because they're not going to reach out to 25 different DJs. They're going to reach out to a handful of them. 3 to 5 is generally the number. Some more, but generally 3 to 5. And you're on that short list. So if you follow Simon Sinek at all, do you know Simon Sinek?
Oh, yes. Yep.
So Simon Sinek Start With Why. He talks about the golden circle. So you just imagine 3 circles, an outer one, inner, and inner is what, how, and why. They need what you do. I need entertainment for my wedding. I need lighting. I need a photo booth. I need video. I need whatever it is that you sell. I don't really care how you do it, right?
Yep.
Most of what a DJ does when it's involved with a wedding or an event is completely out of sight of the client. It happens before the event and they don't see it, right? If you're doing a grand entrance, all that editing that you're doing on music, they will not see that at all. They don't see you practicing. They don't see you having meetings and going through the do not playlist and the do playlist and coming up with your playlist and what you want to do for this particular event. They don't see that. Just like people don't see what I do. And, I'm a professional speaker. I'm going to invest 30 to 40 hours in a speech. And if I've given the speech before, I'm going to invest anywhere to 15 to 20 hours. And I've given the speech before. I'm still going to invest that. Why? Because that's what professionals do. But it's out of sight of the client. You don't see that happening. So they need what you do. They don't care how you do it. The why. Why is it important to them? What is the outcome that they want? And why do I need you specifically to give me that outcome? So when you get the inquiry, it's up to you. Hopefully your website has done its job and has already shown them some of the why. It's up to you to help them buy the outcomes that they're looking for. You're not there to sell them services. Stop selling services. If I take your name off your bullet point list, I can give it to everybody else listening here. That's not what you're selling because somebody sells it cheaper. What you're selling is, I want you, John, Tony, Judy, Jody, Sue, I want you to provide me with that outcome because I feel that only you understand me. Only you know what it is that I really care about, and you're going to help me get those results. That's what we sell as results. We don't sell stuff. Stuff is a means to an end.
Yeah.
We sell results. So when you get that inquiry, you want to turn that into a conversation. You want to that conversion is having a good response to have this conversation. And I just had a DJ just the other day. He reached out to me because I had done a webinar for the Knot and Wedding Wire on how to respond to inquiries. And it was actually the most popular webinar that I think they've ever done. We had like 2,000 people on this webinar, literally. Yeah, crazy. Which for me is the same as talking to 5 because I can't see any of you anyway. So.
It really doesn't matter from that. It's just
right. It doesn't. Speaking in front of 2,000 people is different than speaking in front of 20, but webinar to 20, I always try to make it like I'm speaking to 1 anyway. So he reached out and he said, Alan, I love the webinar and I've started to respond differently and I'm having this conversation, and he was doing all the things that I said. So he thought, getting to the point of short conversations, fitting on one screen of a phone, asking low commitment questions. And then he'd get to a point where it would just go dead. It would just ghost. And he just, long story short, was tight and all this stuff. I said, just send me a couple of your conversations. Let me see if I can see anything obvious.
Sure.
And he sent me a couple of conversations. And I said, okay, you know what? Here I would have said this instead. And then on the other one, I said, why don't you try that? Here, I would have gone maybe here. 2 days later, he emailed me and he said, on one of the conversations, he said, not only did I get a reply from her, I had a phone call and I booked it. So it went from ghosted to booked with what I call a little tweak. For me, it was the jeweler's screwdrivers. It wasn't I needed my sledgehammer. I needed, just do that different. And very often that's the difference between getting ghosted and not. It's just that little bit of a difference. So that's that conversion, is replying to their emails, replying to their texts, to their Facebook messages, to the WhatsApps and things like that. And just having a conversation. What if the phone would ring? If only, back in the day. Yeah. Like we say back in the day, now we sound
used to
old.
have telephones that rang on.
This is really good, by the way. This is Redwood Empire Bourbon and Rye Mix, Sonoma County, California. There you go. Okay. So this, having a conversation, if the phone rang, you would know nothing about them. So the first thing I'm going to tell you here is, your contact form, cut it down. Right now, you don't need to know their mailing address. You don't need to know the start time of the event. You don't need to know the number of guests. You don't need to know the venue's address and all these things that I've seen on all these forums that you use with DJ Intelligence and DJ Event Planner and all these things. You will need to know it. You don't need to know it now to start a conversation. To start a conversation, you need to know a name, an email address, since they're sending it through digital, and I would put a phone number. That's what you need to know. If the phone rang, you would say, "Hi, thanks for calling, John's DJ service. How can I help you?" "Oh yeah, hi. We're getting married. We're planning a prom. We're having a fundraiser. We're having and we'd like to get some pricing and information about having to be a DJ." Right? That's what you would know. So if you got that phone call, you would be like, "Oh, cool, I got a phone call." But when you get that in an email, you're like, "Oh my God, they're all price shoppers."
That's all they're doing. Yep.
But it's exactly the same. It's just that the communication method has changed. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. So when you get an inquiry that asks you about how much it costs, I want your inside voice to go, "Yeah." Because you're in a very small group of people that got that inquiry. The best group would be a group of one, right? That would be the best group. But you're probably in a group of 3, maybe 3 to 5. And how many DJs could have gotten that inquiry? And the answer is dozens, if not hundreds, right? If you're in a major metropolitan area, how many DJs are there, right? Hundreds.
For sure.
How many got that inquiry? 3 to 5.
Yep.
Maybe, like I said, maybe a couple of them reached out to 10. But when they start getting responses from 10, they're going to be like, forget that. So you get that inquiry. You want to be able to ask them some things that they will answer for you without feeling like you're high pressure and feeling like you're prying. I call those low commitment questions. Low commitment questions are the venue. Low commitment question, are you having both the ceremony and reception there if it's a venue, if it's a wedding, right? How many guests are you expecting, right? That type of stuff. Have you been at a party or something where I've been a DJ, right? Those are low commitment questions. High commitment questions are the ones that get you ghosted. If you ask too soon for a phone call, for a meeting, for a budget, you get ghosted. Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple. Stop doing that right now, because you wouldn't walk up to somebody at a bar. You'll go to the bar and you think that he or she is cute, and you walk up and you say, "Hi, John, you want to get married?"
I was wondering how you were going to put that together.
Right? You just wouldn't go right there. You'd be like, "Hi, is this seat taken?" Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Start with that.
Yeah.
Right? And if you get a positive outcome from that, well, let's go a little bit further. "Hi, busy night tonight," right? And you would have a conversation.
Yes.
Now, statistically, every field you add to a contact form, less people will fill it out, even if it's not required. The opposite is also true. Every field you take away, more people will fill out your form, regardless of whether the fields are required. So if you can cut your form down to the bare minimum, you will encourage more people to reach out, because it's lower barrier to entry and it feels less imposing. And for gosh sakes, take a look at your contact form on a phone. I saw one the other day, and it was asking, for their name, for the fiance's first name and last name, separate fields, organization name, street address, and it just went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And yeah, maybe the default with that, because it was definitely imported from either DJ Intelligence or DJ Event Planner or Gig Masters or one of those. And it's every field that you would need to know. Yeah, eventually. But right now, like on my form goes right into Salesforce. So I had to have some fields or it wouldn't match up. So I have their name, the phone, the email, the company name. I want to know your city and your state and your country, right? I don't need to know your mailing address. I need to know your state and your country. And I just want to get an idea, where are you? And then your category, just tell me what, I'm not sorry. Yeah. No, that's to get on my email list. On my contact form, it's tell me what service you're interested in. And then there's a box if you want to write something else in there. And that's it. And when that does it, it goes right into Salesforce. Salesforce sends me an email, so you got an inquiry, and the information is right there for me. So it's bare minimum, right? Now, I could have just name, email, and phone. I want to know, you're on my website. Are you interested in speaking, sales training, website review, ever? And that's not imposing to someone because they are looking for something. So to say, this is what I'm interested in helps at that point. But where, when, all those kind of things. Yeah. Budget. Don't ask somebody their budget. Mm-hmm. If you have not given them any idea of pricing and you ask their budget, they're going to lie.
Yes, that's
well, they're not liars.
Yeah,
they're going to lie because you've asked them a question and they're going to either hold back, right? Or they're going to say something like, well, we don't have a budget, which is amazing because as soon as you give them a price, they miraculously have a budget. Mm-hmm. So don't ask them to lie. So you want to go with low commitment questions and then ratchet up the commitment as you go further. But if you're getting ghosted, there's a good chance that your emails are too long, you're asking high commitment questions, you're asking your questions and then burying them because you're writing after the question, which you should not do. I'll give you a simple thing. If your emails end with, let me know if you have any questions, or feel free to let me know if you have any questions, or please let me know, all of those end with periods and exclamation points. And periods and exclamation points are the end of conversations. A period is the end of a conversation, and an exclamation point is emphatically the end of a conversation. We are done. Yep. Yeah, I said, I'm done. There you go. So those are some of the things that are preventing you from getting a response. You want to have a better conversation. You want to ask better questions. Low commitment questions are also questions that don't require them to consult with anyone. And if you start asking about their vision for the wedding, or if you start asking things like the time that they want to start and end and things that they just don't know yet, you're going to get ghosted. Mm-hmm. And if you ask what are very personal questions, right? You ask things that are a little bit too, they feel like you're trying a little too much. Like, why do you need my street address? I just want to get a price. Why do you need my street address?
Yeah, for sure. Are you going to be bombarding me? Yeah.
You're going to get ghosted. It's simple. You're going to get ghosted. Something else I would like to do here. Wait, let me get my magic wand. I'm going to get my magic wand. We have a hard stop at 8, John?
About 10-2.
10-2?
Yes.
So we have like 5 minutes. Okay.
Well,
here it is. Here's my magic wand. This is my Men in Black wand. Here you go. Yeah. I have just broken the attachment button on everyone's computer. It is officially broken. That was what I did there. If you were on the phone with someone, you can't attach anything. Right?
That's true.
Just don't. Your attachments are not formatted for phones. They are going to delay them replying to you. They think that what they need is in there when it's not. Most of your attachments, quite frankly, are not that good. They were not necessarily done by a professional designer. They have too much information. They don't have good calls to action. They don't have testimonials. There's 4 things you want to have on every page of your website and on every marketing piece. Right, since we have about 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so.
Yeah, let's go another 10. Let's wrap it at 5 too.
So the 4 things you want to have on every page of your website and every marketing piece, and then we should just go to snow here, right, John? Just leave it hanging.
But you have that capability on your end.
Oh, I do. Wait, where is that now? The 4 things you want to have on every page. The first is an aspirational image. Show me an image that I want to jump into and say, I want to be them. So it is not... to me, it's not the first dance picture if you do weddings, because that's 2 people on a dance floor. I want the wedding couple in the middle of the dance floor with all of their friends having a great time. Probably one of the best pictures I ever saw, Jimmy Esposito up in Boston, 617 Weddings. Jimmy had a picture shot from behind the DJ, and it was him, and he had a sleeve tattoo on his left arm, so you could see it was him. You could see the DJ, you could see his laptop. The dance floor is packed. The bride was not in the middle of the dance floor. The bride was standing right in front of the DJ booth, and she was facing him. So the picture was shot from here, and you saw her face, and she had her arms out, and she's just looking at him like, you are just bringing it to my wedding right now.
Oh, nice.
It was phenomenal. She took off his website because he had it on there for so long right now. Okay, so yes, first dance someplace on your website, but I think the first picture they see is just people having a phenomenal time. If you don't do weddings, if it's corporate, if it's schools, if it's fundraisers or whatever, show me people that look like them. Same thing with photo booths. I don't want to see your photo booth. I want to see people having fun in your photo booth. And if it's weddings, I want to see wedding people having fun in your photo booth, right? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Second is aspirational text. Talk to them about the results. Use the words you and your not I, we, me, us, our, and mine. You're going to have to use the words I, we, me, us, our, and mine, but you want to balance it more towards you and your, so they feel like you're talking to them about the results they want. So when you choose John's DJ service for your wedding, you and your guests will have the time of your lives because you. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, I live in New Jersey now, so I'm talking to you. Okay, you got that? I'm talking to you. Okay, I got a guy. You need a guy? I got a guy. If I don't got a guy, I know a guy who's got a guy. Okay, never mind. So I changed my accent when I moved from New York. Now I have to have a New Jersey accent. Okay. 3, social proof. Social proof is people that have already experienced it talking about the results that they received. One of the exercises that I do, I did a mastermind day recently outside of Chicago. And what I did is I had everybody bring printed copies of their reviews from online. And I had them swap them with somebody else. And I had the other people find the brand, find the results, find the words and phrases that describe the business that they were reading about. Not your own business. I had them do it for somebody else. You can certainly do it for yourself. And then you want to use those words and phrases anywhere and everywhere you can, right? So on your website, I want you to think of them like speed bumps. I want a single line that goes across on desktop. It'll wrap to maybe 3-4 lines on mobile. But I want these single lines just throughout your website, throughout the pages on your website. So I have to slow down. I get to read it and then I keep going. It doesn't stop me. You put a whole paragraph, nobody wants to read it, right? And then you're going to do that on your marketing pieces. You're going to do that on everything that you do. And then the 4th element is the call to action. Tell them what to do and make it easy to do it. So let's talk about this. If I see a picture, all right, let's say we're at a wedding show, right? What are you handing out at a wedding show that's going to go in their bag? If I was at a wedding show and I was a DJ, I would have a 6x9 postcard that has a phenomenal picture of people having a great time. I'd have your logo with one testimonial quote on that side, and I'd have your web address. And on the back, I would say, why do couples like you choose John's DJ service for your weddings? That's a great question. Don't take our word for it. Listen to couples who already have. Boom, 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 boom. Call to action. If this is the way you want to feel after your wedding, call us, email us, contact us today. Okay? And I'll show you that I'm a hypocrite. One of the things I give to my clients when I'm doing sales training is this. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. Okay? Then on the back, if you see those red lines over there,
you can see them.
There are 4 short testimonials, right? Why should you have industry guru Alan Berg train your sales team? First one says, the results have been unbelievable. Second, we've been putting your sales principles into practice and certainly seen the results. Third, the results are in my paycheck. Fourth, I immediately put to use techniques that we learned that day. If these sound like the kind of results you'd like to have for your team, call, text, or email Alan today. Okay? The only thing that's missing from this is the image, because this wasn't meant to be a photo piece. So it's meant to be like this.
Yeah.
So the idea is still the same. It's just the execution a little different.
Certainly.
But no one can talk about it better than people who've already experienced it. But don't give me the whole paragraph. That's like putting a cake in front of me and saying, here, Alan, eat the cake. I don't want to eat the cake. Give me a fork with some cake on it. Hey, Alan, try this. Ooh, that was good.
That looks good.
You want some more? Yeah, okay. Oh, that was good. We keep talking. Next thing you know, I ate the whole cake. Right? It's the same thing. Get them to eat the whole cake, one piece at a time, because they're going to read it. Make them in context. If you're talking about lighting, I want a lighting testimonial. If you're talking about how responsive you are, I want it to say that. And you'll find this. It's like panning for gold. When you go into your reviews, you're going to find all the reasons why someone should hire you. And it's not because you have state-of-the-art sound system. I don't even know what state-of-the-art sound system is. Who is Art? Art has all this equipment. It's always state-of-the-art.
And I've wondered what state Art actually lives in.
What state is Art in? Yeah, I think it's the state of confusion. Something like that. So, again, what makes you different is those words. So what you're talking about is the results. Ask them about the results that they want. Ask them, one thing we know is that when people get married, they typically are in a group of people that are getting married, friends, cousins, things like that. I spoke to somebody at at an event recently, and I said, she's married a year. I said, how many weddings did you go to last year? Right? 17.
Oh, that's a little extreme.
Just imagine 17 weddings. And if these people know one another, she had 17 dresses, right? Because
exactly. That's
you can't be
exactly
seen in the same dress.
I was going
Not like
to.
a guy, right? We can change the tie and now we have a new
good,
suit, right? That's why I have 100 neckties, because I can do that. So this is the difference there is what did they see at other weddings that they definitely wanted hers, right? Or if you're talking to the bride, talking to the groom, or brides and grooms, whatever it is, what have you seen at other weddings that you definitely want at yours? What have you experienced at other weddings that you want at yours? What have you experienced at other weddings you don't want at yours? What do you not want to happen? And then you want to hear about all these things that they're like, oh, I don't want that. Oh, I don't want that. Oh, I don't want that. And when you find that out, you find, okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that these are some of the things you want to avoid. Got that. No problem. That's covered. And this is the way you want your guests to feel. You want them to go back to work on the Monday after your wedding and say this. And you want them to go, yes. So here's what I have to ask you. On May 22nd of 2022, we're going to be at an amazing wedding. They're going to be people that every word of the ceremony they're going to hear, whether in the first row or the last row, because your voices get a little quiet when you're reading your personal vows. And the cocktail music is going to be just the right volume for people to have a good time and set the mood. And then the reception itself and the announcements are going to be just perfect. The combination of humor and romanticism and emotion. And then when the time is right, the dance party starts. This is the kind of music that we're going to be helping people have. And I just have one question for you. Is it going to be me making that happen for you? And let that sit. And let them look at each other and say, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's how you close a sale.
Excellent.
Paint the picture and then make them feel like you could take it away. Right? Another way to say that same thing is, I'm going to be doing that on that day. I can only be in one place at one time. Is it going to be your wedding? And let it sit. That book behind me, that one right there, is called Shut Up and Sell More Weddings and Events for a reason.
Alan, we got just a touch of time left here. Let's speaking of, thank you. Let's see some of the stuff you've got there. You've got some resources for folks out there that can really turn their business around.
Yeah, so I have 5 books. The first one there is called Your Attitude for Success, which is just having the success mindset, because successful people don't have more money than us. They don't have more ideas than us. They just take better action. So that'll help you, especially when you're hitting, it's actually really good right now, because when you're hitting a challenge that we're all hitting right now, it's good to have that success mindset. The next book was actually my first one. It's called If Your Website Was an Employee, Would You Fire It?
I love that one.
And that's because it's working 24/7, has one job to get you the inquiry. The next one there is called Why Don't They Call Me? It's funny, it looks like it says, why do they call me? But it's actually, why don't they call me? 8 tips for converting wedding and event inquiries into sales. And that's how to respond to their inquiries so they actually do respond to you. The next one is called Shut Up and Sell More Weddings and Events. And when you learn how to ask better questions and listen, which is hard for us. I mean, talking in my family is a competitive sport, so it's hard to shut up. But when I'm selling, I'm not going to learn anything when I'm talking. None of us learn anything when we're talking. We only learn when we're listening. So ask a better question, really listen to the answer. And then the latest book is called Wit, Wisdom, and the Business of Weddings. And it's, I wasn't sure how it was going to be received because it's different than my other books. It's not meant to be read front to back. Not that it can't, but it's not meant to be. It's actually 45 different chapters that are sales, business, and inspiration at 15, 15, 15. But every chapter stands on its own. So you could literally pick a chapter and say, hey, I want to know what that's about, and jump to that chapter. And it'll take you 5 minutes to read that. And that's what people tell me, is they love the fact that they can just take that one little bite and go and not feel like, oh gosh, I didn't finish the book. And it's really been phenomenal feedback from people, because that's what they love about it. And that's the thing that makes it different. So I'm very happy about that. Unless you listen to the audio, I guess you still can jump around with the audio. But and I did my own books in audio. If you're on Audible, please go to Audible. My books, I do them myself. They're in my voice. So if you like this voice, great. If you don't get the audio.
Then buy the book.
And they're Kindle. And Todos mis libros disponible en español. All my books are available in Spanish, in paperback, as well as in Kindle. If you're listening from outside outside the country, go to Amazon in your country. If you're inside the country, you can just go to alanberg.com. For the books, actually, I do website reviews, I do sales training, I do speaking. You can go to my website, you'll see all of that. If you are outside the country, again, the website's available to you. I just don't ship paperback books because the shipping costs more than the book yeah. At that point. But Amazon does have them over there. So, and then Excellent. Kindle is available anywhere. And yeah, I mean that's it. That's what I do. And John, thank you so much for having me on. I love talking with you. We've done this quite a few times, and look forward to the next one. Yeah. Oh, great content, great information, Alan. And for those of you out there, if there's some gold, you need to go rewind and listen to. There's some great tips and ideas in tonight's show. Just impressive stuff. Alan, thank you much for being on. Thank you for your passion and training and such. And looking forward to not only our next session together, but seeing you. Are you going to be at Wedding MBA this year? Have you gotten that lined up yet, or? I am actually the only speaker that's spoken at every Wedding MBA there has ever been since 2007. Excellent. So I'm not breaking the streak. I am speaking. I will be speaking at least 3 times, like I do every year. Perfect. And have my huge booth at the trade show. Look forward to seeing there. I'm also doing a mastermind day the day before. I've done this for the past few years. It's a very small group. If you go to my website, you can see it there. There's a speaking page. There's a speaking calendar on that speaking page. And I do these small group masterminds where I get a small group of businesses together and we just do this collaborative day all day. And Wedding MBA doing it there, and there's actually a payment plan, so you don't have to pay it all at once. I know that's a painful thing for people now. Mm-hmm. But if you are going to Wedding MBA and you want to come in one day early and join us, there's only, I think it's only 7 or 8 businesses that can be at that because we keep them small on purpose. It's like consulting with me for the day without having to foot the whole bill. There you are. That sounds excellent. Pop out to alanberg.com, gang. Check it out. And Alan, once again, thank you much. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Lou Harris is on deck, and he'll be with us in just a moment. Thanks so much.